Let me get you on camera. Where you from?
California.
No, for real. Leave it on. Serious though.
Watts, baby.
I know where you from though. Where you from?
Eastside PJ Watts.
I'm from Grace 2 House, man.
Right.
They call you, homie.
Big Slice.
Big Slice?
Yes, yes.
All right, nigga. They call me Puto, cuz.
Right.
In that puzzle. Big shout out to SPI, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
We back in the black box where we reacting to content in these YouTube streets. What's the subject of this video? The constant, consistent, continuous content creation. Campaign continues, and O'Shea Duke Jackson, he said something about it's a YN crisis in Atlanta. I have not watched one moment of the video, have no idea the direction. We're just gonna see with no further ado what O'Shea Duke Jackson says these YNs in the ATL have been up to. YNs, ATL, and Yanato, YN ATL.
Atlanta's a perfect example of the dumb leading the dumb. And I see so many young kids that are outside doing hooligan with their friends because their parents are outside doing hood rat with each other.
It's a Saturday and you want to go out to a good event. You want to go out in your city and enjoy the culture, the food, the people, because this festival comes to your city every year. And you know what? You meet new people, you meet new friends. Everything is okay. You're vibing, having your favorite drink, and all of a sudden, people are running, people are scattering, people are screaming. And when the dust settles...
Eric, that's right. Good evening. People who were at the park tell me they heard gunshots and immediately started running to safety. Atlanta police confirmed that unfortunately, a 16-year-old girl lost her life.
This is exactly what happened last Saturday at the 404 event in Piedmont Park in Atlanta. A 16-year-old young lady by the name of Tiana Robinson was shot and unfortunately passed away. But this behavior amongst young people is something that is very interesting in Atlanta because this incident is not unrelated. And many people have been complaining about these Atlanta teen takeovers.
They're planning more takeovers. They've taken over the Atlantic Station, taken over the Battery. Somebody has got to stop these kids.
It's not just kids. Apparently, it's adults too. Last weekend, it ended in 17 arrests. 9 teenagers, 8 adults. Police say that more events are being promoted online currently. One at Cumberland Mall this weekend and another at Six Flags over Georgia in 2 weeks.
Who is planning this stuff?
That's
Can you take his phone?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's more.
Parents
In Compton, I used to live on a prominent corner of the takeovers. All throughout Compton, they added extra speed bumps in the middle of the intersection. I remember when them motherfuckers first started popping up, you just rolling out really tripping. You at the light, turn it to make a turn in the turning lane. Then you go to turn, like boom, boom. You're like, what the fuck? They're very difficult to avoid. You have to make a very wide turn in order to avoid them. Now that you know they're there, you'll go ahead and go over them and not trip. But they used to disturb you so much. You're like, what the fuck going on? But all over Compton, most of the majority of the main intersections, they've had to incorporate these extra speed bumps simply for the takeover. And I can recall, like, I was still smoking cigarettes or need some blunts, maybe 12 midnight, 1 in the morning, jump up real quick, jump in the car, go around the corner to the gas station. And by the time I get back, run in the gas station, come back, there's so many cars parked from a little bit past my house all the way back to the next street. It may take me 20, 30 minutes before the traffic is dispersed and I can get to my house. There's a bunch of, that shit used to look crazy. The way they just pull up out of nowhere and just get the piling out of cars. Had I not lived so long and been so used to the streets and seen that these was kids, it would look scary. Oh, my mama, but they was really meaning no harm, but they would just pop up so aggressive out of nowhere, having fun.
Could end up facing charges after a chaotic night involving teens at Atlantic Station. Atlanta police say hundreds of teenagers gathered at the popular shopping and entertainment district over the weekend with no adult supervision for most of them. Fireworks were set off, at least one gunshot was reported, and shoppers ran for cover as police moved in. Officers say what stood out the most was the lack of parents on the scene. Now police are reviewing whether parents should be held responsible under city rules that require minors to be supervised in large public spaces. Now, no serious injuries were reported, but the incident has raised new safety concerns. So what do you think? Should the parents be held accountable? Let us know.
So these teen takeovers are being organized, and they're mostly coordinated informally. So what happens is on a platform like Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat, these teams will basically get together and they will forward posts in group chats or private stories, and it also spreads at school, so the word of mouth even helps.
I can't believe law enforcement has not infiltrated said chats and getting the word and popping up at the takeover before or simultaneously with these kids. Thought law enforcement would be a step ahead of them by now.
To get further, and basically they'll come to a mall or to certain places, and then attendance can jump from like a few dozen people to like hundreds within hours. It's really not meant for there to be violence, but sometimes things happen. Not only do teenagers get arrested, adults get arrested also. Then the main question comes, where is the supervision of these kids?
He's right, you know.
And whenever things go wrong, people will look for a solution. And now there is one.
We will be strictly enforcing juvenile curfew laws. Parents should be aware those curfew hours are between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 12 a.m. to...
If that is a remedy available to law enforcement, that's like a no-brainer. I wonder why they haven't done that out here, or if they have. I just know curfews are hard to enforce. What you gonna do? Take somebody to jail for being out? And if they are out past that curfew, they are willing to run that risk, and then they not giving a fuck about getting that little misdemeanor charge. Then what's they get out? Then what? They gonna go right back to the takeover? That's just putting another more strain on the system.
6 a.m. on Friday and Saturday.
Now, Operation Go Home is this new thing that they're trying to roll out while even threatening to penalize these parents. But that's where the problem starts. You see, a lot of these youth, and we know that this is true, a lot of them are coming up under single parent homes. Coming from a single parent home is not always the worst thing in the world, but something is wrong.
Basic things like love, kindness, respect, all of those things we are entitled to. But the extras, your kids feeling like they can get bad grades and they can still have the $1,200 iPhone. They can still have the you're gonna pay for the $500 wig installment, the $900 shoes. You're going above and beyond because you're doing it from a place of lack. I've seen parents working 2 jobs to give their kids the extras, not just the basic necessities. That's okay, but the extras that sometimes these kids don't even understand the concept of earning.
You see, without the father in the house,
man, providing for your children has nothing to do with their level of competence or understanding earning. A parent's natural responsibility is to provide for the children. How much they choose to do so is up to each individual parent. But to insinuate or assert that parents' provision should somehow correlate with a child's level of understanding or ability to understand giving or providing, that just doesn't make sense to me.
What can continue to happen is that female parents, single moms, are more likely to reward bad behavior. Like, it was a big difference between my mom in the house and my dad in the house. If I would do something, let's say, for example, in school, and I get the best grade, my mom would coddle me. Oh, it's okay. You're going to do better next time. Or my father would just not accept that. My mom would reward certain bad behaviors from me just to keep me happy because, you know what, I was her son. My dad was more quick to discipline me for that same infraction. And I was a much different young man.
You know how many people just overlook the balance that is produced by what he is describing? Having that personal interaction with both a male and a female parent. They want to suggest in this world that two of the same sex parents is equivalent to the natural balance that a human being receives by being nurtured and developed and instructed by the counterpart of male and female. What that provides a human being moving forward, health in a healthy, especially in a best case scenario, for you to think that that is just equally compared to same-sex parenting, and not to notice how as he's expressing he has this dynamic with his father and this dynamic with his mother, how that has caused him and individuals like him to have a healthy balance of perspective when it comes to masculinity, femininity, the way men generally, or father, at least in most situations, and the idea of what a mother of feminine energy would think and how they would approach the situations. You have some type of reference to compare what the rest of the world is doing. That is healthy versus only being exposed to what's typically in our communities, the mother, or just the father, but just the mother. But we typically benefit more from the father because you typically experience less pampering, more discipline, more structure, kind of like the movie Boys in the Hood.
Well, both of my parents in the house, they actually worked well together when it wasn't fighting. But that's happening now. So you have these kids who are most likely being rewarded for doing nothing, and they're all coming together, and then problems are coming out of these gatherings. Then there's the elephant in the room, criticizing the parents of these kids. Now, we all know talking about single moms or Black women raising these kids, you're always going to get certain levels of pushback.
When a man is not there, it's not good for the child. But even when a man is there and is inactive, it can be often worse for the child, or if the child is living in an abusive environment, right? But the idea that a child needs a man and woman to raise it is a European standard. In the global South, in communities that value collectivist culture, a family relationship, you would have multiple generations living in the same house that would all support the child in one way or another.
And this is an example of one of those dumbass excuses that I was
talking. Yeah, I've been trying to find this for a second. I apologize, O'Shea. Didn't mean to interrupt you while you was landing, but
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
I can't believe she said that bullshit.
Talking about, you know, this person was trying to make an excuse of not having a two-parent home. But the problem is that these kids in Atlanta don't have anybody at home, or at least nobody's looking after them. So these excuses for replacing the father is the reason why you have cities like Memphis, historically Youngstown, Ohio, St. Louis, New Orleans, back in the day, Los Angeles, Compton. While these are the reasons why these cities were not performing. And then when you criticize it, it's a problem because now you hate Black women. Now you hate the Black community. This is one of the things you see even people like Roland Martin doing, which is if you criticize something that's outright, people will just turn it as if you hate Black women, you hate Black America, you're tearing down the Black community. Sometimes people just get fed up.
Atlanta's a perfect example of the dumb leading the dumb. And I see so many young kids that are outside doing hooligan with their friends because their parents are outside doing hood rat with each other. And
I want to shout out to the brother because what he's saying is correct. There are certain parents or many parents out there who are creating these Atlanta new age inmates. And one thing that the Black community has to understand, especially these women, is that you love these kids. They are your kids, but they are not anybody else's kids. So when your kids go out there and they make a mistake, they hurt somebody, they kill somebody, they shoot somebody, and then the state gets a hold of them, you cannot help those kids anymore. They're now the property of the states, and there's nothing that they can do, crying or saying I'm sorry, that's going to basically change that. And so many people, especially their kids, you can't tell them anything, which is why a lot of talented Blacks, especially in the Black American society, leave certain neighborhoods or certain places. It's much different here in Africa. It's a lot of problems here, but disrespectful kids get dealt with by the community. It's completely okay. But in America, oh my God, telling a kid that you shouldn't do this or do that, you put yourself in a danger. Because you know what? Who are you to tell my kid anything? But my mom used to always tell me, son, if you don't listen to me, you're going to listen to somebody. And this is true. You can do what you want until you can't do it no more. Then you end up in prison and you're going to have to mind something.
One of the hardest things for a parent to have to deal with adult children is giving them the room to make them decisions that you cannot save them from the consequences from. And, maturing and growing, and me personally realizing that way younger than my children, my parents had no say so. They could not weigh in on any of my decisions. I did not give them that room or that right. It kind of causes me to give my children more room to be humans and make decisions for themselves, even though they may adversely affect their own lives. I don't just try to mimic my experience. I do insert my input where I feel appropriate, but I do realize they are not my property. I only try to point out, guide, not direct, force, or manipulate anyone to do anything whatsoever.
Somebody there, whether it's the prison guards or the prisoners, are you going to die? But you're going to mind somebody. So it's better that you go ahead and do it now. And so many of the youth don't understand. The parents are messed up. They're broken. They're creating broken kids. Then if you come back and you really criticize it and you really want to have strategies to make it better, then somebody says you're acting white or you're a raccoon or you're a sellout. And then you see all of this talent. You see these beautiful young black minds out there who are not really monsters. They're just responding to their ecosystem, but the world is going to look at them as monsters. And so there's nothing really you can do to help anybody who doesn't want to take any level of accountability. So the people that can help give these young kids opportunities that can keep them working or creating jobs, they don't got time. They move away from the Atlanta city into the suburbs. They get away from the city as far as they can to better neighborhoods where they get around, we're going to call it what it is, mixed communities or white communities or high functioning black communities, because they don't want to deal with the problems. Then they get called sellouts when they don't want to come back into the community and invest businesses. I had a pretty good story that I'm going to cover. It's in my hometown of Sacramento, in a rival neighborhood in which I grew up called Oak Park. As you know, I'm from Del Paso Heights, so Oak Park is like the enemy within.
Damn, O'Shea, I thought you said you was from Compton. Or did you spend time growing up in both areas? Thought you said you grew up around the Santanas on Santa Fe somewhere. I swear I heard that on my mom. I could be mistaken, though.
It's not really an enemy, but, it was our biggest. And Oak Park is a historic black community, probably the most popular in the city. Well, maybe second popular to Del Paso Heights. But right now,
Garden Block is pretty popular, too. Shout out Sebo, Brother Lynch. My mama.
They're offering businesses tax breaks to come back into Oak Park, which is called now an opportunity zone. I've never heard this framework. But the problem is Oak Park is still largely known as being a dangerous neighborhood. And even though it's an opportunity zone, it's difficult for somebody to want to come back in and serve the Meadowview area, 29th Street Garden Block areas, Del Paso Heights. I don't know about Valley High anymore, but Valley High. You see, even if it's an opportunity zone.
What about Pebble Beach? That's some shit Mizey be rapping about.
The biggest opportunity is not to be over there by that zone in the first place. And that's the reality of it all. You can say what you want to say, but reality is this is what happens when the inmates run prisons, okay? And Democratic liberal talking points have allowed black people to be unaccountable for their behavior to where nobody can criticize you. And now you're getting the results of this sort of behavior. And now you don't want to deal with it no more. Nah, go ahead and deal with it. This is what y'all have built. Okay. This is what the propaganda has created. Now you're dealing with it. And now since people are dying, teens is taking over malls. Now it's affecting your shopping. Now you're affected by this violence. Now it hurts you. Now you see that this strategy does not work anywhere in Black America. It doesn't. Being a perpetual victim all the time, not taking any accountability none of the time, single parenthood and just I can do bad all by myself all the time brings the results that function none of the time. So guys, What do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Dude.
Shout out O'Shea Dude Jackson for bringing that one. Yeah, he focused on ATL. I imagine he spent some time at ATL, maybe not, or maybe that's just something that came across his desk. But I believe, I thought it was going to be more about the street takeovers. He's talking about the takeover mentality of the YNs in general and the effects it has on the community. And I believe it is something that's in effect, that there is no type of movement, gesture, legislation that is going to halt it. I think it's going to have to work itself out. Shout out to my sons and others like them and fathers like myself who have been fortunate enough to instill things in their children that they actually didn't practice themselves, and been blessed enough for their male children to not perpetuate stereotypes and breaking cycles that we didn't break ourselves. I just feel extremely fortunate. I was speaking to my homie Big Dame earlier, and I was giving him a progress report on my sons. And, it just makes me proud to give an update on their actual status. He hasn't seen them since they were quite young. Now they're young adults. I'm sharing with them, and he was overwhelmed with elation, being elated at the report. And he started giving me a lot of compliments for them reaching that status, and I just had to deflect the compliments and give gratitude to the creator, because I am aware that no matter how much effort you put into a child going one way or the other, it's no guarantee of outcome.
I'm with my family. Talk to my sons, I talk to everybody, man. I'm just saying, going to deal with this fight, see what it is. I just want y'all to know, all this stuff is quagmire. Shit is all bull crap. I just need y'all prayers. I need y'all to... I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, neighborhood that bustin'. Giving a shout out right now to SPR in the streets. Y'all already know what it is. Schwarzenegger. Oh yeah, and don't forget to check my website out too. NipseyHustle.com, SlaughterBoy.com, MySpace /NipseyHustle. That hustling. Big shout out to SPR, Spotter Low. I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.